Guys, I used to be so anxious. I was anxious nonstop. I don't think there was a moment where I didn't feel like something wrong was happening, like something horrible was about to happen, and I just constantly felt anxious. A problem would come up. Oh my gosh, immediately I would start spiraling. I would literally have a breakdown because something happened in front of me because I could not control that things were going wrong or that there was a problem. For example, there's this one time where, I was in driver's training and I lost my folder. I had simply misplaced it in class, but I started freaking out immediately. Like, I knew it had to be there. And I was like, oh my God, I cannot find it. Like, I started literally almost having a panic attack. I was just really anxious kid, really anxious person all the way up until very recently, honestly, in my life. I'm not that person anymore. I genuinely feel like things come up and I'm like, it's whatever. It's crazy because all my colleagues describe me as a type B person. And guys, I always thought that I was type A because I used to be very anxious and stressed, but now I am totally type B. A problem will come up and I'll be like, it'll figure itself out. It's crazy. I don't even know who I am these days. The fact that I just think like that. And I'm genuinely saying that. I genuinely don't have the same stress more and more every day. I'm just becoming less and less anxious, more detached from certain outcomes, if that makes sense. Not in a I don't care, but simply in a genuinely feel like I'm gonna be okay no matter what, so I don't need to stress. Anxiety and negative thoughts are a habit that we create, and if you're used to that habit, if you grow up and that is your way of being, right, it's really hard to see that as a habit because they just pop up so naturally. They're naturally there all the time. In the beginning, it is kind of a battle because you have to make the conscious choice to think differently. You have to make the conscious choice to be a different person, and not entertain those thoughts. And it's really easy to associate those thoughts with oh, this thought is me. We actually have so much power over our own minds. We have so much power over our thoughts. Not saying that you can control that a thought pops up, but you can definitely speak to that thought differently and approach that thought differently. There's so many times where I would have a thought and I'd be like, oh, why am I having this thought? Or even just immediately believe the thought, and I would spiral down some road of oh, my life is gonna be doomed because of this reason, or this didn't go right, so now everything is just falling apart in my life. And I would see that and I'd be I'd make some sort of prophecy about the future based on whatever thing that I am having a problem with or can't control. And now my natural response to a negative thought is to counteract the thought, and turn it into a positive thought or turn it neutral. There's a lot of different ways you can counteract negative thoughts depending on what the thought is about, right? Maybe you're making some sort of prophecy about the future and you're, oh, I'm having difficulty in this certain social scenario, and so that means that my whole life I'm gonna be alone and sad and I'm gonna have no friends. Or I'm oh, I am so alone and sad and I don't have any friends. And guys, I've done that so many times. And so I actually start looking for ways to disprove that in my life. Okay, how do I actually have connection in my life? I look for evidence of the opposite thought. Now, let's say you don't have any evidence of that. Maybe you are totally socially recluse, okay? I start telling myself that anything can change and anything is possible. I think about, oh, my ability to talk to people is something that can be improved. Let's say right now you're oh, I'm really socially recluse, I don't have any friends. Friends can be made. Counteract my thoughts immediately. Anytime I have a negative thought, even if it's about my appearance, ugh, I'm so ugly, or I feel fat. I look in the mirror and I'm oh, I have big thighs, whatever my insecurity is. And I'll counteract that and be I'm juicy. I'm juicy, period. Or I'll be you know what, Abby, you just feel that way. But it's not necessarily true. I'll say things like that. I'm just counteracting the thought so that it's not so bad. I'm turning what I initially was saying was a bad thing into like an okay thing. Like that's also like also making thoughts neutral is really helpful. Let's say you're like really stressed because you're not getting a response from someone and you're like, oh my gosh, they hate me, they're avoiding me, blah, 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 not working out, think something bad is happening, or they're deciding that they don't want to be friends with me or something like that, you know. I just give myself other possible reasons for whatever I'm seeing in front of me. Sure, they could be avoiding me, but they could also be busy. They could be in the middle of something, stressed. They could be wanting to give it the proper attention. All these different things. Like, I don't know what's going inside someone else's mind, so I don't need to stress about it. I only need to stress about what I can do. A lot of anxious thoughts comes from not being able to control things, and it's because we're focused on all the things we can't control instead of focusing on the things that we can control, focusing on those things that I can control. It's very empowering. It's like while you're only focused on the things you can't control, you're giving no energy to the things that you can. And so everything just feels like you're helpless. You're seeing the power outside of yourself. While definitely there's things that you can't control, there are a lot of things that you can. How you respond, how you react, how you perceive, those are all things that you can control. You cannot control your thoughts. They're going to pop up. But how you respond to that thought is what matters. You can have a negative thought, but if you follow that negative thought and go, yes, that's true, that's very different than having a negative thought and being like, curious about the negative thought and challenging it a little bit. We take away our own power a lot because, yes, there are so many things in our life that we cannot control. But we take away all the power from ourselves because of those things when we still have so much power over ourselves. It is challenging at first because, you know, you have that habit, but the more you follow the other habit, more that will be the default. Because like if you've been going through a forest the same way every single time, eventually like a path will be formed, right? But right now you're just trying to go through like thick forests. So you have to like keep going and carving a path for a while until like that path is made, and soon that other one will dust over, plants will grow, all these things. But it's going to take some time of, you know, consistency and continually going down the other path. It is completely possible, and guys, I have changed my life. I've changed my mind. You know, I still have anxious thoughts sometimes, but I think my response to those anxious thoughts are very different, and it has really positively impacted my life. So I want that for everybody. I want that for everybody. I want that for everybody. If you're in a really anxious place, remember your thoughts are not you, and you have full ability to change that, period. You are not your thoughts, period. Okay? Anyways, hope everybody has a great day, and I will see you again soon. Peace.